Welcome. What you are about to watch is not science fiction, and it is not folklore. It is a serious investigation into one of history's most compelling unresolved questions, the mystery of the Antikythera Mechanism, the missing pieces that would change everything. Across the world, in universities, research institutes, and field excavations, serious scholars are wrestling with evidence that does not fit the accepted story. Evidence that has been documented, measured, and peer-reviewed, and that still has no satisfying conventional explanation. We are going to look at that evidence carefully, without prejudice in either direction, not dismissing what is extraordinary, but not accepting it without scrutiny either. The truth, as always, is in the details. Approximately 80% of the Antikythera mechanism is missing. The 82 surviving fragments, encrusted bronze gears and plates retrieved from a Roman-era shipwreck in 1900, represent perhaps a fifth of the original device. For over a century, scholars have been decoding what survives and inferring what is gone. What they have found is astonishing. What is still missing may be more astonishing still. The mechanism, built around 70–60 BC, tracked the Metonic cycle of the moon, predicted solar and lunar eclipses using the Saros cycle, calculated the Callippic and Exeligmos cycles, displayed the Egyptian calendar, the Greek zodiac, and a star calendar. It encoded the sophisticated astronomical knowledge of Hellenistic Greece in a portable mechanical computer small enough to carry on a ship. In 2021, a UCL team proposed that the missing front of the mechanism displayed all 5 planets known to antiquity, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, as moving pointers around a dial. If correct, the device was a complete model of the ancient cosmos: Sun, Moon, and 5 planets, all shown in motion simultaneously. No device of comparable complexity is known from antiquity until 400 years later. Who built it? Were there others? And what would a single recovered missing fragment reveal? This is where our investigation begins. Stay with us, because the further we go into the evidence, the more extraordinary it becomes. The story you think you know is only the surface. Beneath it lies something far more remarkable. Let us begin. Before we examine the specific evidence, we need to step back and understand the context. This case does not exist in isolation. It sits within the wider world of ancient technological anomalies, and to properly evaluate what we are looking at, we need to understand the broader picture that surrounds it. The official story of technological progress follows a reassuring arc. Stone tools giving way to bronze, bronze to iron, iron to steel, and finally the Industrial Revolution catapulting humanity into the modern age. In this narrative, each generation inherits a slightly more sophisticated toolkit than the last, and no knowledge is ever truly lost. It is a comfortable story. It is also, in key respects, demonstrably false. History is littered with technological achievements that appeared centuries before their supposed invention, vanished after the cultures that created them collapsed, and were reinvented, often with great difficulty, by later civilizations who had no idea the knowledge had ever existed. Roman concrete was stronger and more durable than most modern concrete and was not matched again until the 21st century. Greek fire, the incendiary weapon that protected the Byzantine Empire for centuries, has never been fully reproduced. Damascus steel, capable of holding an edge that modern metallurgists struggle to replicate, disappeared with the craftsmen who made it. These are not myths. They are documented historical losses of genuine technical knowledge. When we encounter an object from the ancient world that should not exist, a battery from Baghdad dated to the Parthian era, a computing mechanism salvaged from an ancient shipwreck, a map showing geographical features that were not officially discovered for another millennium, the temptation is to dismiss it as misidentified or misstated. That dismissal is sometimes warranted. But when such objects accumulate, when the pattern becomes too consistent to ignore, the honest response is to ask whether our model of ancient capability is simply wrong. This context matters because it tells us something important. What we are about to investigate is not an isolated curiosity. It is part of a pattern that researchers in multiple fields have been independently documenting for decades. And patterns in science demand explanation. With that foundation in place, let us now turn to the specific case at hand. Now we reach the heart of the matter. The core evidence surrounding the Antikythera mechanism, the missing pieces that would change everything, is more extensive, more verified, and more troubling for conventional explanations than most people realize. Let us walk through it systematically, fact by fact, and allow the evidence to speak for itself. We are not going to speculate here. Every point that follows is documented in peer-reviewed publications, official archaeological records, or government archives that are publicly accessible. The question is not whether these facts are real. The question is what they mean. Consider this first extraordinary detail. The Antikythera mechanism was retrieved from a Roman-era shipwreck off the Greek island of Antikythera between 1900 and 1901 during a sponge diving operation. Approximately 82 fragments survive, estimated to represent roughly 20% of the original device. The mechanism is dated by inscription-style metallurgical analysis and astronomical content to approximately 70-60 BC. It is made of bronze gears housed in a wooden box approximately the size of a shoebox. This single data point, if taken in isolation, might be set aside. Anomalies happen, instruments malfunction, researchers make mistakes. But as we continue, you will see that this is not an isolated anomaly. It is part of a consistent and documented pattern. But that is only the beginning. Researchers also discovered the mechanism tracked the 19-year Metonic cycle, synchronizing solar years with lunar months, predicted solar and lunar eclipses using the 18-year Saros cycle, incorporated the 76-year Callippic cycle and the 54-year Exeligmos cycle for eclipse prediction. The back dials display these astronomical cycles on spiral scales with pointer indicators. The front dial showed the Egyptian calendar and the Greek zodiac. An inscribed parapegma, a star calendar noting heliacal risings and settings of named stars, runs along the front dial edges. Now, a skeptic might propose an alternative explanation for this, and that is entirely reasonable. We should always test alternative explanations before accepting extraordinary ones. The problem is that the alternative explanations, when examined carefully, create more problems than they solve. The mystery deepens when we examine. In 2014, Alexander Jones and colleagues at New York University analyzed the Saros dial inscriptions and identified the month names as Corinthian, linking the mechanism to Corinth or a Corinthian colony. Corinth's most famous colony was Syracuse, the home city of Archimedes. Cicero, writing around 65 BC, described a mechanical orrery captured by Marcellus at Syracuse in 212 BC that showed the motions of the sun, moon, and planets. The Corinthian calendar identification added circumstantial weight to a possible Syracusan or Archimedean connection. This is where the conventional account begins to strain. Each individual fact might be dismissed or minimized in isolation. But the cumulative weight of the evidence is another matter entirely. Perhaps most remarkable of all, the UCL Antikythera research team, led by Tony Freeth, published a proposed reconstruction of the missing front section in Scientific Reports in March 2021. Based on X-ray CT scans of all fragments and analysis of surviving gear mechanical logic, they proposed that the front of the mechanism displayed all 5 planets known to antiquity: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, as moving pointers around the front zodiac dial, using Babylonian period relations for each planet's synodic cycle. Researchers who have examined this evidence have described it as genuinely difficult to explain within the accepted framework. These are not fringe commentators. They are credentialed academics publishing in mainstream journals, raising questions that the field has not yet satisfactorily answered. Then there is the matter of the surviving inscriptions include a partially readable manual or instruction text on the interior covers, which has been progressively decoded using X-ray computed tomography and polynomial texture mapping. The text mentions planetary cycles and includes details of the mechanism's operation. The parapegma inscription names specific stars and their heliacal behavior. Alexander Jones has argued that the inscriptions suggest an educational or display purpose. The mechanism was designed to demonstrate and explain celestial mechanics, not just to calculate them. What makes this particularly significant is its independence from the previous points. This is not a case of one theory requiring another. These are separate lines of evidence converging on the same uncomfortable conclusion. Adding to the enigma is this finding: no comparable mechanism is known from antiquity before or after the Antikythera device until European clockmaking of the medieval period, approximately 400 years later. The mechanism demonstrates that Hellenistic Greek craftsmen could manufacture multi-gear precision instruments of extraordinary complexity. Whether the Antikythera mechanism was unique or one of several similar devices is unknown. Cicero's mention of a comparable Archimedean device suggests at least one other may have existed, but no second example has been found. Taken together, these facts form a pattern that cannot be explained by coincidence, misidentification, or methodological error. Each piece of evidence has been examined by skeptics. Each has been subjected to alternative explanations. And in each case, the alternative explanation falls short of accounting for everything that has been documented. We are left with a body of evidence that demands explanation and an accepted narrative that does not provide one. This is where serious inquiry begins. Now that we have established the evidence, we need to examine the theories that researchers have proposed to explain the Antikythera mechanism, the missing pieces that would change everything. This is where the debate becomes most intense, because the theories reflect not just different interpretations of the same evidence, but fundamentally different assumptions about what is possible and what the past looked like. Understanding these theories is not just an academic exercise. Each one has been championed by serious researchers with genuine credentials, and each one captures something that the others miss. The truth, if it is ever established, will likely draw on elements of several. The first major explanation proposed by researchers holds that Tony Freeth and the UCL team's 2021 reconstruction proposes that the missing front section displayed all 5 planets known to antiquity as moving pointers around the zodiac dial, using Babylonian period relations to drive each planet's motion. This would make the mechanism a complete model of the ancient Greek cosmos: sun, moon, and 5 planets shown simultaneously in motion. The reconstruction is based on surviving gear logic and inscriptions. It has been challenged by Alexander Jones, who proposed a different planetary display arrangement based on alternative gear tooth counts. This interpretation has significant academic support and is backed by substantial evidence. But it is not without problems. Critics point out that it requires assumptions that go beyond what the evidence strictly supports, and that key predictions of this theory have not been confirmed by subsequent research. It remains contested, and the contest is productive. A rival school of thought argues that the mechanism was built following principles associated with Archimedes or directly by his school. Cicero described a device captured by Marcellus at Syracuse in 212 BC, showing solar, lunar, and planetary motions, closely matching the Antikythera mechanism's capabilities. The Corinthian calendar link connects the device to Corinth and Syracuse. Archimedes died at Syracuse in 212 BC. This hypothesis cannot be confirmed or excluded with current evidence. No maker's inscription has been found on any surviving fragment. This theory is controversial, and deliberately so. Its proponents argue that the evidence demands an explanation outside the conventional framework. Critics counter that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and that the evidence presented, while suggestive, does not yet meet that standard. The debate continues in peer-reviewed literature. Perhaps the most unconventional theory suggests that Alexander Jones proposed an alternative planetary reconstruction in which the front section showed planets differently arranged from Freeth's model, based on different interpretations of the surviving gear mechanical logic and inscription content. The two reconstructions agree that a planetary display existed, but differ on specific implementation. This debate illustrates that even with modern CT scanning and imaging, the missing 80% of the mechanism leaves fundamental questions about its full capability unanswerable from surviving fragments alone. What is striking about this debate is not merely that experts disagree. That is normal and healthy in science. What is striking is the quality of the disagreement. Serious researchers, working from the same body of evidence, reaching genuinely different conclusions. That level of fundamental disagreement, when it persists over decades, is a signal that something important has not yet been understood. The question is not which of these theories is right. The question is whether any of them is right, or whether the truth is something that none of the current frameworks has yet been able to capture. The case surrounding the Antikythera Mechanism, the missing pieces that would change everything, does not rest on speculation alone. What distinguishes this investigation from pure mythology is the existence of documented, physical, verifiable evidence, material that has been examined by credentialed researchers and whose authenticity is not seriously disputed. What is disputed is its interpretation. Let us review the most significant documented evidence as objectively as possible. We are not going to cherry-pick the data that supports a preferred conclusion. We are going to lay out what exists and let you draw your own assessment. Physical evidence supporting this account includes UCL's 2021 reconstruction used X-ray computed tomography, producing 3D models of all 82 fragments, combined with polynomial texture mapping to enhance inscription legibility. The team derived the proposed planetary gear train from analysis of tooth counts on surviving gears and the logical requirements of the backdial astronomical cycles. A working physical model was built and demonstrated to function correctly. The reconstruction was peer-reviewed and published in scientific reports, but it remains a reconstruction, not a confirmation from surviving hardware. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Investigators have documented the Corinthian month names identified on the Saros dial by Alexander Jones and colleagues provided the most specific geographic clue yet found in the mechanism. Corinthian month names differ from Athenian, Rhodian, and Macedonian calendars, allowing the identification. The Corinthian connection links the mechanism to a specific cultural and geographic sphere. Jones' team also decoded additional inscription fragments describing the Exeligmos cycle and planetary visibility periods, confirming that the original instruction text was substantially longer than what survives. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. On-site analysis revealed Cicero's account in De Republica, written c. 54-51 BC, describes a device built by Archimedes, captured by Marcellus at the fall of Syracuse in 212 BC, that showed the motions of the sun, moon, and 5 planets simultaneously. The timing and description match closely with the Antikythera Mechanism's apparent capabilities. While this is textual evidence rather than physical, it is the only surviving ancient literary description of a device comparable to the Antikythera Mechanism and establishes that such devices were known and discussed by educated Romans of the period. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Each individual piece of evidence might, in principle, be explained away. A single anomalous artifact might be misidentified. A single anomalous date might reflect contamination. A single anomalous eyewitness account might reflect misperception. The question is whether all of the evidence can be explained away, and whether the explanations required are more or less plausible than the evidence itself. When multiple independent lines of inquiry converge on the same conclusion, that convergence is the most powerful signal in empirical science. And that is exactly what we are seeing here. We have examined the history, the evidence, and the theories surrounding the Antikythera Mechanism, the missing pieces that would change everything. Now we need to ask the question that is sometimes overlooked in discussions of ancient mysteries. Why does this matter? What does it mean for us today? It would be easy to file this away as an interesting historical curiosity, a puzzle from a distant past with no bearing on our present lives. That would be a fundamental mistake. The questions raised by this case touch on issues that are directly relevant to who we are, where we came from, and what the human story actually looks like before the period covered by conventional history. The Antikythera Mechanism is displayed at the National Archaeological Museum in Athens. X-ray tomography has produced complete 3D models of all 82 fragments, and the UCL team's 2021 working physical reconstruction has been built and demonstrated. Decoding of the parapegma inscription continues, with additional star names and seasonal markers being progressively read. No second Antikythera-type device has been found in any subsequent archaeological excavation or shipwreck survey. The shipwreck itself has been subject to ongoing underwater excavation, returning bronze statues and other significant finds, but no additional mechanism fragments have been recovered since the original retrieval. Who specifically built the mechanism, whether others were made, and what the complete front planetary display looked like remain unanswered. The 400-year technology gap between this device and comparable medieval clockmaking remains unexplained. Furthermore, the tools available to investigate these questions are advancing rapidly. Satellite imaging, ground-penetrating radar, ancient DNA analysis, isotopic tracing, and deep-sea sonar are all providing capabilities that previous generations of researchers could only dream of. Cases that were genuinely unresolvable 10 years ago are now open to new analysis, and the findings, consistently, are expanding rather than contracting the mystery. The investigation continues. New discoveries are being made. New analyses are being published. New voices are entering the conversation from disciplines that were not previously part of the discussion. The answers, when they come, and they will come, will not merely solve a historical puzzle. They will force a fundamental revision of assumptions that underpin our entire understanding of human history and human potential. We have now walked through the complete case of the Antikythera Mechanism, the missing pieces that would change everything from the historical record, through the physical evidence, across the competing theories, and into the modern significance of what remains unresolved. What the story of Antikythera ultimately reveals is not just a historical puzzle. It is a mirror. It reflects our assumptions back at us, our assumptions about what ancient people were capable of, about how knowledge is gained and lost across the centuries, and about the relationship between what we know and what we merely think we know. The evidence presented in this documentary is real. The questions it raises are genuine. The debate among researchers is ongoing, and that is healthy. Science is not a set of conclusions. It is a process. And the process requires that we remain open to evidence that challenges what we thought we knew, however uncomfortable that challenge might be. If you came to this documentary as a skeptic, we hope the evidence gave you something to think about. If you came as a true believer, we hope the critical examination gave you a more nuanced picture. The truth, as always, lies in the evidence, not in what we want to be true. Thank you for watching. If this investigation sparked your curiosity, please subscribe to the channel. We publish new documentaries every week, covering the full range of historical mysteries that the mainstream has not yet adequately explained. Leave a comment below telling us which case you want us to investigate next. The conversation continues. The investigation never ends.